Hello everyone, Mike Lechave here from Aquascape Odyssey, here to give a beginner's guide on selecting what type of filter you want for your nano aquariums or even larger aquariums, not more than 20 gallons, because that's what I'm only at right now. So I don't want to give advice if I've never done it before. I'm here to be honest, transparent on this channel. So we'll only go up to 20 gallons of what I've done so far, what I recommend from a filtration standpoint. So with that, what do I recommend from a filtration standpoint? Now let's talk about what we need for water turnover rate. That's typically where you start. So gallons per hour is what it's measured at. So for a gallon per hour standpoint, you need a 4 to 6 times the amount of gallons you have filtration per hour. Now, when you're going through and looking, everything already tells you what you need from a gallon standpoint. And if you're not using gallons, you're using liters, it tells you that as well for the different measurements, because I don't know, us here in the States went imperial versus metric, which is great. So is that the same for gallons, liters? I think so. But anyways, I'm getting back into it. So you need a 4 to 6 times the gallons per hour rate. So for that, basically, let's say for my 20 gallon, which is the one right back here and what you're seeing through the clips, and also kind of just to give you a channel update, I'm going to be scaping this tank right. Use this hand. There, which you'll see a video with this right now of what I did. So I wanted to give you all some more content, of course, and show you another nano tank build. This is for a 12-gallon tank. It is the 90B tank from UNS Systems. So basically, I'm going to be scaping it. It's a little bit lower depth, but I found the perfect piece of wood. It is ghost wood, so I'm excited to bring that all to you here in the future. I made more space. So in the last video, you probably saw a big Monstera plant here, changed it out with a palm. So a little bit of changing in the studio here in the Aquascape Odyssey life, but wanted to get more content out to all of you in terms of scaping. And I will be adding a canister filter to this one as well. All of my other nano tanks, I would say under 10 gallons, have a hang-on back filter. But going back to gallons per hour, where we started out originally. So for my 20-gallon tank, you need around 80 to 120 gallon turnover rate per hour. Now, I use a fluval canister filter on that. The reason being is sound. That's kind of the meat of this whole thing for me, is I am very sound sensitive. So if I hear something and I'll fixate on it, and in a small studio like this isn't a big room, I tend to fixate on it, which is bad, which means that I can't deal with sound. So initially when I first started out in the hobby, I was going to use an air pump and for my nano tanks, because I didn't get into 20 gallon until like my third tank. So when I first went out, I was going to start with an air pump, but they're too loud. So I just couldn't get into using them, and I used a hang-on back filter. But let's segue back into a canister filter. I know, squirrel, I always kind of deviate. Sorry. Canister filter, I use the fluval line. So when I first started out in the hobby and got that 20-gallon tank you see behind me and what you're seeing in these clips, as you're watching this, was the UNS canister filter, which was recommended to me by the folks at the fish store. However, they don't have a good prime pump for them. But also, even with that, after getting all the air bubbles out of the top part of it, there was still air trapped underneath the 2 stack layers. So in those pumps, they have the first layer, which is going to be your filter floss and whatever else you want to use. And then the secondary bucket basically has your media in it, which helps capture beneficial bacteria as your water's circulating through that filtration. That last part being the beneficial bacteria capture area that releases back into your water. And that's typically what you want to have more of after your tank has been set up. You don't need as much filter floss because everything is kind of reduced out of there, and you don't need like as much carbon or anything like that to help filter out your water. because your tank's pretty much established and you just want as much area for beneficial bacteria to kind of congregate or, build up in. So the UNS one just had that second layer where air bubbled up and it wouldn't get past it because they have rivets on the underside. So air would be trapped there and you would just hear it. And I couldn't deal with it. The decibels coming out of that, and that's what you quantify sound with. I found for me being noise sensitive and fixating on noise, anything around the 35 decibel range is at the peak to maybe about 38 is fine with me. Anything higher than that, I just fixate on it. And you're probably like, hey, Mike, well, how did you test all this? I didn't get a decimal reader on its own. My Apple Watch has a decimal reader as well. So for all you Apple Watch users, turn that decimal reader on, and not Despacito, decimal reader, decibels. I don't know. However you say it. But you can put your watch right up next to it and it will tell you. As you can tell from watching this channel, I'm not great at pronouncing words. So yeah, canister filter is the way to go. For your larger tanks, so if you're not in that nano end, even like anything above 10 gallons, I've been adding a canister filter, and it's just a lot easier in terms of keeping things out of the way, especially when you're using and I'm not saying you shouldn't use an air pump, but with a sponge filter, it takes up a lot of space in the tank. But getting back to that, I switched to a fluval. You can see it. It's hard to point, I'll cross over there. So that's the fluval canister filter. I think it's the 207 or 206. I upgraded. You can watch my build video that I did for the 20 gallon. Basically, I upgraded for this one. I didn't need to in terms of gallon per rate turnover. The 107 was completely fine. It's rated for it. I just decided to do a larger one because I wanted to have more fish. So just keep in mind when you're using filtration, you want more gallons per hour if you're going to let's be honest, overstock your tank. I wanted more nanofish and invertebrates because I didn't have as much space. I didn't think I was going to do another build, but since you all have been watching that other build video and you're kind of liking my content, or maybe you don't like it, comment if you don't like it. Let me know what I could do better. I wanted to get more content out, and I love scaping. So I'm just keep adding to this room, reorganized it, and excited to get you all more content. But anyways, back to it. So yeah, canister filter, 207. Anything over 10 gallons right now, I have canister filters on. That one that we're going to be seeing soon will be a 12-gallon tank. I moved the 107 to a tank that's directly behind me as well. So think about it. If you're going to be overstocking your aquarium, you definitely want to maybe double the size that you're going to have. So again, just recommendations as you're going through. And again, I did that for this 20 gallon and everything's great and it's overstocked. Now going back to, you don't want to overstock too much, but just check your ammonias, check your nitrates, and make sure your ammonia is not spiking with overstocking. So I'm not guaranteeing that you won't have a spike with an oversized filter, but just be hyper aware if you do. I just added, probably 20 different fish, which is the peak of the tank, right? Typically you want an inch because they're nano fish, right? They're CPDs and emerald rasporas. But basically, I didn't just have those, and clown killifish, I think they're called, these, the nano top fish. I'm learning more, okay? But basically, and you can check it out on Aquascape Odyssey. There's some videos posted them as well. But basically, I have those and also invertebrates as well. So I wanted to make sure I had enough filtration in snails. So moving back to hang-on back filters, which are pretty much everything I use in my nano tank. So I have a 3-gallon tank, I have a 5-gallon tank, and another 3-gallon tank as well. I have a filterless tank right there. The light's not on. It's where my vampire crab is. It's a Pelendrium. I don't know how to say it. Okay, I'm not going to try. So with that, it has a water area, and there's shrimp in there, and everything's fine. So you could do a filterless tank as well. You just have to make sure you have enough plants and floating plants for whatever you're putting in the tank. But I'm talking about filters right now. So my nano tanks have a hang-on back filter. And before we segue back into that, canister filter, that fluval filter line is only putting out a decimal. I think it was about 35 to 38. When it's finally all aerated out, it's around 35. It's extremely quiet. Don't have to worry about any sound from that. Now, the hang-on back filters, I spent a lot of time. Luckily, with the canister filters, I tried the UNS, couldn't get rid of the sound, went to the Fluval line, and I struck gold there from reading all the Amazon reviews. Now, the hang-on back filters, there was mixed reviews. Some saying it was quiet, it wasn't quiet, it is quiet. I tried around 20 hang-on back filters and finally struck it with the Aquatop Forza line. There is your gold nugget if you're going to take anything from this and you're going to use a hang-on back filter. Those series are the quietest hang-on back filters that I've experienced in this industry. So that being said, you do not need to keep purchasing their branded filters. So basically when you buy their filters or hang-on back filters, they come with it's a sponge that for their smaller one, the one that goes like 5 to 15 gallons, it has a sponge in the front, and basically that sponge helps beneficial bacteria build up. You keep that. Then the second one is their filter, which is like a filter floss and like carbon, right? So you don't need to keep buying it. That's like $7 for 2 of them. It's ridiculous. You can just go and buy and you can Google it on Amazon. I just go to my aquarium store and just get filter floss. And I cut it to size. I get a big square. It comes in a big square. And then and it's like double stacked. And you can cut them to size and put them in. That's all I use for all of my nano tanks that you've seen. If you look at my Aquascape Odyssey, that's what I have for filtration, is just filter floss, and that's it. The tank pretty much self-sustaining with beneficial bacteria building up on that sponge. Now, when you get into the larger one, which I do have the larger one on my 5-gallon for my Caridina tanks, which is the next size up, you can go and look. The options will be down in the description as well for purchasing any of these, and they're super cheap. Let me start off with that too. So think about the Fluval line is they're like $100 and up. These hang-on back filters are like $20, $30. They're super cheap, super affordable for just getting into the hobby and just putting that right in your tank. Well, actually, let me check right now. Right now on Amazon, when I upload this video, the 45-gallon per hour rated one for 5 to 15 gallons, which is like an 8-gallon one, it says, is $16, $16.99. I can click on the next one, which is, nope, I use the 25-gallon one, which is 15 to 25s on my 5-gallon tank. It's probably too much, but it has a control on the top for the amount of flow rate, which is great as well. That one is $19.44. So they're all under $20. The rest are probably more expensive as you look up on their line. But those are the two I'm using. So I'm using the 8-gallon one and the 25. I haven't tested out this 21. Looks a little bit different. I haven't tested that one out. I haven't tested the 36 out. The 40 looks like the 8-gallon and the 25-gallon. And so does the 75. So just looking at them online right now on Amazon. So being aware of sound is kind of where I'm coming from. And you can cut to size with that filter floss to save you some money there as well. So again, coming back full circle, sound. And what you're adding into your filters. So those don't, and then that 45 line has and talking about adding into filters, so it builds up beneficial bacteria, plastic, that beneficial bacteria builds up, and then it has typically what you would purchase from them would be a filter floss, and same thing, some type of carbon. I just put filter floss. Now, if you want carbon to help purify your water, by all means, you can buy the same thing. I did it when I was first starting in terms of learning that you don't necessarily need it at the point of filtration to add carbon into it. Maybe starting out, and I don't know the science behind it, so don't quote me on the science of not needing it, but you can cut carbon filter. It's like a filter floss, but carbon-based, and you can put that behind it as well. Okay, so filter lines. Fluval, Canister filters, quietest, and I've only tested 2, and I lucked out with Fluval. So that is my recommendation, and I have 2 different sizes. So tested and tried and true. Great. Great for starting out. If you're looking for a canister filter, if you're looking just for hang on back to save space and sound, because the other thing with a sponge filter is it takes up space in your tank, and then you also have to take it out to clean that filter, that sponge in it. So again, saving space, easy to maintenance, all that good stuff. And then for hang on back filters, so I do have an air pump that I run sometimes in my 20-gallon tank, because I don't have a surface skimmer. Forgot it. So surface skimmer, sometimes I run it just to get rid of the surface scum that builds up from protein and stuff from your tank. The quietest one you'll see in my description below. So basically in the description below, you'll see it, and it only runs about 40 decibels when it's running. It's the quietest one I found, and I tried about 4 different ones. So you'll see that as well in the description. But going back, if you did want to run sponge, recommend that specific one. Now, if you're looking for a hang-on back filter, I found the quietest one, and I've tried tons of them. Well, not tons. Well, I tried out, tons of them. But in terms of me purchasing tried and true, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I used to have another tank that I had them on, ordered them, and same results every single time. Now, I did try the Fluval line of hang-on back filters. The one reason why is because it comes with like little beneficial bacteria circular things that build up for it. So I was trying that line, and the first one was super quiet. The next one I ordered for my tank was loud. So I just went back to the Forza. The Aquatop Forza line. So again, take that in terms of if you're looking for a quiet filtration for your little knowledge drop in aquascaping and learning about the aquascape hobby and what filtration you should get. My recommendations are, if you want easier hands-off filtration, all of them are great. But if you're starting out in the hobby and you're around 10 gallons or larger, you can use easy to not maintain for months, because with a hang-on back, sometimes you have to change out the sponge. And if you don't care about doing that, which is super easy, then highly recommend just doing a canister filter. It's a lot more hands-free. And then little quick tip, if you are having leaching problems with your wood and tannins, Purigen is the little secret code for keeping crystal clear water and absorbing that tannin release. So little quick tip there. But going back into recommendations, your Fluval line for your canister filters, hang-on back filters, highly recommend the Aquatop. But until next time, thank you all for tuning in today to my tip on what I recommend for sound for filtration, and also what has worked for me in the hobby. So if you do have any questions, feel free to comment below. Please take this time, if you watched this through, like and subscribe. If you do not like it, please let me know. I can only be better in this hobby if you all tell me what I'm doing wrong. So please comment below. I love to interact with you all. Until next time, please check out my Aquascape Odyssey Instagram channel if you want to see some more macro filming of what is in my tank and what things are happening in the Aquascape Odyssey studio. But until then, I'm excited to get this tank being built right over here. Now I got my hands all correct of like how to point. Until next time, thank you all for tuning in today on this tip of what I recommend for filtration.